We're good to go.
Okay, thank you. This is the Lehigh County Authority Board of Directors meeting of February 12th, 2024. The meeting is being recorded and is available via Zoom, telephone, or online. The information was sent to the Board of Directors in advance of the meeting electronically and in hard copy, and it's available also online. And if anybody has not received that information, please let us know. Let's do a roll call of the Board of Directors before as we begin.
Okay. Roll call of the board. Brian Nago.
Here.
Linda Rosenfeld.
Here.
Jeff Morgan.
Here.
Ted Lyons. No Ted. Kevin Baker. Norma Kusick.
Here.
Mayor Famili.
Here.
Sean Ziller.
Here.
Mark Gramis.
Here.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. We have a quorum.
Mhm.
There was an executive session held before this meeting, just immediately before this meeting, and it was discussed potential litigation issues. Let's look at the review of the agenda and a need for executive sessions. Ed, you're going to be in charge, correct?
No executive session required. One small change on the agenda would be that under finance and administration, there is no action required for legal action regarding PFAS litigation.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions on the agenda? All right, moving on then. First order of business is the approval of the minutes from the January 22nd, 2024 board meeting.
I reviewed the minutes and make a motion for them to be approved.
I'll second that.
Motion made by Linda and seconded by Amir. Are there any questions to the minutes? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, thank you. Moving on to public comments. Are there any comments from the public on any items that are non-agenda items?
No, thank you, Brian.
No, thank you, Brian.
Thanks, Penny and Brian. Right, moving on then to action and discussion items. We eliminated the one item under finance administration, and we move on through water to wastewater. We have several issues under wastewater. First one is legal services, development of new intermunicipal agreements, seeking approval, the Ivory documents within our board package, digital board packet pages 7 through 40.
This would be Phil DeVoe's item.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to take this on behalf of Liesel. And I would like to introduce Attorney Stinnett. He's on the call, or he was on the call, there he is. Attorney Stinnett, I'm going to say a few words and I'll throw it to you and then you can sign off, when you're ready.
Thank you.
So just as a background on what this request is, as we all know, the Act 537 plan is nearing the last phase, if you will, with the anticipation of being done by this September. That's what we told DEP, with that means we've submitted in March of 25. So with the Act 537, of course, there's a Section 7. Section 7 is a requirement, and that entails institutional and financial valuation. So that's part of the Act 537. And so that means we have to address that section. Now, of course, the region is working under different sets of arrangements than in the past. There's basically three, as you could call, lists that apply here. You have the plant, the Client's Island plant, which is a 1981 agreement. And then you have the Emmaus agreement from 1959. And MAS is not a part of the 81 agreement. And then we have a whole subset of interceptor agreements with addendums to addendum to addendum as part of that set. So needless to say, the arrangements are complex. Some of the current generation has trouble understanding the complexity. That all being said, we have to address the 537 requirement. And how we're gonna do that is, we've had discussions with Raftellus over the past year. They've helped us sort of crystallize where we could go, where we couldn't go with cost sharing. So we're at the stage now where we need to engage an outside counsel who has no affiliation with municipalities here to help us across the finish line. So that's what this request is in a nutshell. Again, one of the overarching goals of this is to try to modernize the relationships we have with the municipalities. I can't stress enough the complexity of the billing and those entities not understanding all the nuances of the bills. So we're trying to, that's the overall goal, is to simplify that somehow. And some of the projects we're talking about, that I'll be talking about next, are not contemplated in the existing agreements. So at a minimum, we have to address what we're contemplating. And then we really want to, again, modernize and simplify. It's gonna be a tall order, but we have to do it. So Attorney Stinnett, I'll turn it over to you to let you introduce yourself and the firm, and I'll fill in some details after you're done. Before you start, I will say that, of course, we've been meeting regularly for the past 4 years with the signatories every month. And then we've recently started to have these special managers meetings where we're talking about the financials. And Attorney Stinnett was at the January 18th managers meeting, where he got to meet all the municipal managers, and they got to ask him questions, and so he got to meet them all. So Attorney Stinnett, I'll turn it over to you just to introduce yourself and your firm and your experience working with these complex IMAs.
Thanks, Phil. As Phil said, I'm Lee Stinnett with Salzman Hughes. We're a law firm that practices throughout the Commonwealth. I'm primarily out of our Camp Hill office, but I do work really all across the state, assisting communities in various environmental matters, whether that be stormwater, wastewater, water. But a fair amount of that experience has been assisting communities to negotiate and put into place updated and modern intermunicipal agreements of the scope we're discussing here. I've helped 30 communities negotiate an IMA, all the way down to 2 or 3 communities trying to resolve a decades old issue. So as part of that, I've gained a lot of experience working in processes like this. But I think one of the other aspects of our practice is I'm a solicitor for quite a few wastewater authorities, water authorities, stormwater authorities, and municipalities. So in addition to the experience our firm brings in terms of just negotiating and crafting intermunicipal agreements of complex nature, we also understand the inner workings of municipal government that a lot of folks that might do what we do on the special counsel side with negotiation and crafting of intermunicipal agreements. We also understand, how the municipalities that eventually have to agree to the IMAs, how they work. And I think that sort of experience is unique, but something that has helped us in the past to get a lot of these agreements across the finish line, because at the end of the day, authorities are great to work with because they're largely technocrats whose goals are purely to advance the mission of the authority. That isn't always the case with the municipal entities, and there might be some other sort of guiding lights there that we've had experience with, and we think that we can assist in a unique way to hopefully bring this to a successful an endpoint and have all of these IMAs approved so we can move forward with the Act 537 process. I think one of the other aspects is I do have quite a bit of DEP experience working with DEP across the entire state. So I do have the experience with the Act 537 planning aspects. I've worked with communities going through that process with DEP, sometimes not always smoothly, but we've generally been able to navigate that to a successful project completion. So I think that pretty well summarizes, our experience and, what was within our proposal, but I'm certainly happy to take any questions from anyone.
So I have a question. So these agreements, while they have a legal framework, they have a lot of technical components as far as, I&I, O&M, capacity, cost sharing, pretreatment program, all kinds of stuff. So are you guys LCA internally doing that? Is there another engineer who's working with these folks? Lee, your firm provides some guidance on that. How's that all going to come together?
Lee, I'll have you go first and I'll step in.
So, I went to law school, so I didn't have to do math, but I do have quite a bit of experience in the rate making world. I've litigated sewer rates throughout the Commonwealth. So although, we'll be leaning on the technical expertise of the rate consultants that LCA's brought on, frankly, a rate consultant I've worked with on rate disputes and sort of similar processes as we're dealing here, Raftellus. But what we do is we do have experience in all of those areas through our representation of sewer authorities and municipalities. But we will rely on the LCA in-house folks and then also the rate consultants that have been, already brought on as part of the team to help us craft the final agreement.
Thanks, Lee. And then Jeff, to answer one of your questions directly too, a piece of this puzzle is going to be the sewer billing meters. So we are, as a group, actively working on that together. So that's going to be one piece that we'll all get on the same page, and then we'll give that to Attorney Stinnett. So yes, it's going to be a combination of Raftellus in-house,
Okay,
and then AECom, or the whole team.
okay.
That's going to be, it's across the board.
Jeff, do I recall correctly that part of your experience with Easton, that they have those sewer meters and they charge people based on what they use or whatever it is?
So a number of clients who do it a variety of different ways. In the case of Easton, they actually installed sewer billing meters. They did not function very well. There was upstream and downstream meters and subtractions and things like that. And so they went to a water use system. They basically budget and bill strictly on total water use. And that basically shares the I&I and all the excess flow amongst all the communities. That's just one example. There are other people out there that use sewer billing meters. It's a variety of ways of doing it, but it's all kind of all over the place. There's no real set way of doing it.
The reason I ask this question, is that something that LCA is doing, benchmarking what other authority are doing to make sure that, the plus and minus is that the sewer meter wasn't working well, they went based on amount of water you use, so we're gonna charge you based on that. Is that something we have done with other municipality? Learn?
Yes, and I know Attorney Stinnett, you have a whole encyclopedia of IMAs that touch on this topic, in which you could lean on. And then to answer Amir's question directly, the relationship with Delcor, Delaware County, so we from time to time touch base with them to see what they're doing. So yes, we are asking others. But this is, the sewer billing meter is one example that needs to be, the framework needs to be addressed again by September. And I guess that's a good point. I want to stop and just make sure we're all on the same page. We're not going to have these agreements finalized by September. We need the framework. We need the framework. And if we can't, then we have to, and we have to regroup. But that's the goal. And Attorney Stinnett, do you want to add anything more about your encyclopedia that you have of other IMAs you can lean on?
Yeah, as you know, when we started doing a lot of work with intermunicipal agreements, we started working with our friends and some of our clients to start just gathering a repository of all the IMAs that sewer authorities and water authorities have used through, in their own neck of the woods. And we've also had conversations with people about what worked well in those agreements, what isn't working so well, all sort of culminating in some of the tweaks we've made. But again, at the end of the day, the agreement needs to be narrowly tailored to function within the construct that LCA and the other communities need it to function. So we'll certainly be pulling from other areas where we've had successful processes, but we'll also be tailoring it specifically to the needs of the individual clients here.
So thank you for that.
Phil, this is Brian. Maybe I'm missing this, but is there supposed to be a professional services authorization document attached with this distribution?
There is not, and well, what's going to be requested is the board to execute or approve the CEO to execute the engagement letter with Salzman Hughes. So right now, Salzman Hughes has identified roughly 375 hours at their rate identified in the proposal, and that was their best estimate for the amount of hours required between now and September. So the reason why there's no PSA is because of the unknown amount of money, to be honest, of how much this is going to take. So that was the reason why no PSA, just for the authorization to execute the engagement letter at their hourly rate.
Okay.
And along those lines, this will be paid via the city's AO bond. The city's already blessed to approve that approach. So that all being said, any more questions for Attorney Stinnett before he signs off?
If we just the same following up on the same question, are we required to have an actual authorization, a document that for professional services being authorized? And I understand what you're saying. We don't know the amount, but usually we do like an up to a maximum of so many dollars.
Yeah. In their proposal, they have they specifically call out 375 hours at 75,000. So we can do up to 75,000, and we could come back later if we wanted to for additional. Or I could, Attorney Reed, if you have any suggestions about that. That was the way it was. That was the way it was proposed to be done, to be handled, just because of the unknown within the amount of time and money.
Well, I think we ought to have some kind of authorization on it and just document it.
Okay.
But okay, so the motion that you're making is to accept the engagement letter as presented on January 15th from Salzman Hughes, PC, for not to exceed amount of $75,000. And that's for the let's see, legal services authorization to decline now in sewer system. Okay, all right. Is that what you're proposing?
That's correct.
All right. Any other questions for Attorney Stinnett?
I have a question. Mr. Stinnett, do you have a local office here in the Lehigh Valley?
I don't have a local office, but I've talked with staff about this. I'm doing quite a bit of work in the Lehigh Valley at the moment, and we've discussed ways that we can leverage those other meetings that I'm there pretty regularly for. And generally speaking, our proposal indicates that we charge for travel time, but I usually build conference calls and things like that. So I'm not billing to sit in the car and to drive out to you all.
That's nice to hear since you're an hour and a half away almost, right?
I certainly understand that. I think I, I've joked with some of my colleagues at work that we might need a Lehigh Valley office just for me to get some downtime when I'm out that way.
Join us.
Okay, any further questions?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, Attorney Stinton, I was just looking through your client list here, and I have some. I work, I live in Lehigh County, but I work for the city of Easton. And obviously, you may not be able to go into significant detail, but can you talk to talk to the experience you had in Palmer Township in Northampton County with the stormwater?
So it's early, I would say, in the functioning of that program. I was engaged by Palmer to assist with establishing their stormwater authority. They are technically they went live in December with approval from the state. I work pretty regularly with them because we are in the early stages of their stormwater fee rollout. But it's gone really, really well. We've are about to finalize the bills, I believe, pretty soon for billing for first quarter for the stormwater fees. But it's gone pretty well. I've been working there for about a year now.
Yep, just curious. So I appreciate that. Thanks for indulging.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a great
Sign
day.
off.
Thank you. Any further questions about the proposal in hand from Salzman Hughes?
I think, Phil, I think the attorney had met with the other municipalities and had a favorable response for them to make this arrangement happen.
Yes, that's correct, Chairman Noggle. Yes, he was in here again on January 18th to meet with the signatory group, and they have expressed the desire to move forward with Salzman Hughes.
All right. This is something we've been hoping for a long time, so I truly hope that they're successful in getting this thing straightened out for once and for all. All right, let's have somebody make a motion.
I'll make a motion.
All right, and a second to that motion is, well, let's reframe the motion. The motion is to engage Salzman Hughes PC based on their proposal of January 15th, 2024, provide legal counsel services to work on the contracts or contracts for future engagement with the other municipalities as part of the 537 plan. Anything better than that?
Mr. Nagel, I think you want to add the not to exceed amount?
Yes, I do. Not to exceed $75,000 per the terms of that engagement letter.
Second.
All right, second made by Linda. All right, any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you, Phil.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to the next item. It's the KISS Relief Interceptor pre-design study of seeking approval, grade documents within the board package, digital board packet pages 41 to 61.
This one will also be a Phil DePoe item.
All right. So for this one, we are going to be talking about more on the technical side about a specific project. And just for some background, this project we're going to be discussing, the preliminary name of it is going to be the KISS Relief Interceptor, the KRI. That's preliminary, that may not stick, but that's where we're at right now. And what this project is, again, you've been hearing about this over the past months, but I'll just level set. From the water plant in Martin Luther King down to Klein's Island, There's a city interceptor from the late 20s, early 30s. And it's, frankly, it's too small. And what has happened in the 80s, in the 90s, is that relief assets had to be built. Like the park pump station is a relief asset. There's a parallel interceptor in the parkway, which is a relief asset. South Whitehall has a relief asset, and so does Salisbury. So all the relief assets were built in the 80s and 90s. And the problem right now is that even with those relief assets in place, the interceptor is too small on a wet day. So we have overflows upstream of the water plant. So we've all known that, and now it's time to correct it. And the correction is, again, during the final alternatives analysis, there was two options at play. Do we build a parallel interceptor, or do we do some sort of tunneling? And the economics favor the parallel approach. And so that's what the intent is to do a parallel interceptor from roughly the water plant down to Klein's Island, maybe a little upstream of the water plant. The size is not finalized yet. That's going to be part of the authorization or the design. It's going to be between 54 and 66 inches, maybe 72. 54 to 60 is the likely diameter. And all municipalities will utilize this new interceptor, except Hanover may not use it since they come in on the east side, but that'll be worked out, in the final design. So just for the purposes of this discussion, all municipalities will use this interceptor. And again, that's not just for wet day now. It's going to be, we're looking through 2050, right? So, we have problems on say the park pump station's not operating. There'll be dry day problems, right? So this is both a dry and a wet day problem. So that's that, and we can't forget that upstream of this area, there are challenges within the Western Lehigh interceptor that need addressed. And we can't address those until the downstream is addressed. So that's the progression. So that all said, we have specific directions multiple times from DEP that they want the alignment nearly finalized by submission. So they've said it multiple times, so that's what we're proposing. We need to finalize the alignment. And with finalizing the alignment means a lot of geotech work. So the bulk of the proposal is focused on underground geotech, geophysics geotech. Before I get into the specifics of that, I just want to talk about the financial piece. So, as I mentioned before, there's no agreement in place to handle the cost sharing for this work. The closest one we have is the Park Pump Station Fund, which is an LCA-driven fund, and 9 of the 15 municipalities use that fund. And those 9 I've talked to all 9 of them. They are fully aware of this, and I have their support to move forward. I just want to reiterate that piece. And we do want to, at the end of this project, and when we have new agreements, we do want to recapture costs from the others. So that's how this is proposed to be funded, which will require a budget amendment, which I'll get into. So again, this KRI has been discussed for multiple years now, and we're at the point where we need to start doing the pre-design. Again, the big takeaway is DEP is expecting alignment to be nearly finalized. So the proposal itself, again, it's a pretty lengthy proposal. There are 3 sub-consultants within the proposal. 2 of them are very minor, and the big one is I'll talk about. So again, Arcadis is being proposed to, this is an Arcadis proposal, that's going to be an Arcadis request. However, they're going to have subs underneath them. So why Arcadis? Why Arcadis? Because they have the model, right? We need the model to nail down the alignment, to nail down the hydraulics. And Arcadis has a strong relationship with the big sub, which is Schnabel Engineering. Before I talk about Schnabel, I want to talk about the two other subs. One will be Art Swallow. They'll do an aerial survey initially, a minor piece of the proposal. The second minor piece of the proposal is an outfit to identify all the permits required and to start of course, not submit any permits, but start of the legwork, all the background work for the numerous permits that are expected here. So that's the second sub. The third sub is Schnabel Engineering, and they are a national geotech outfit, and they have all this, and they have the expertise in-house, and they do have a local office in Chadds Ford, where the work will be, that's where the bulk of the manpower will come from. And what Schnabel is going to do, Schnabel is going to use two basic techniques to identify what is below the ground. The first technique is called, it's going to be electromagnetics, and basically it's a fancy metal detector to identify foundation. The focus of that is to identify anything that's buried that shouldn't be buried. Foundations, I know there was a lot of housing and buildings in this area throughout the 100 years. So that's what that's going to be used for. And that's a smaller piece of their proposal, is this electromagnetics. Again, that's only a couple days in the field to identify foundations. Second big piece is seismic refraction. And what is that will, you set these, they call these geophones. And what that's going to do is going to tell us the depth to rock and rock quality and all the karst features. So that's the bulk of their proposal is the seismic refraction piece. And after they do both of those, they're going to propose up to 20 test core sites. Now, in the proposal, you see there's two alignments. There's one on the Martin Luther King side, and there's one on the other side of the creek on the abandoned railroad bed. So after they take, again, the EM and the SR analysis, they're going to identify 20 boring locations. I think they're saying like 13 will be for trenchless. No, 13 will be for open cut trenched, and then 7 will be for trenchless. And of those 20, 4 of them will have permanent groundwater wells installed, or monitoring wells, so we can know what the groundwater is doing. So that after that occurs, then the bores will be actually performed, and then will be sent back to a lab to be analyzed. And that's all going to be wrapped up into a big report that Schnabel's going to produce. That's going to help Arcadis identify the exact horizontal and vertical, base of the design. So if we don't get this part right, the design can't go anywhere. And again, given the price tag of this proposed interceptor, this falls into the expected soft cost, if you will. So again, this will be the last major planning effort related to this project before it's turned over to Chuck and the engineering team to do the actual RFP for the engineering selection. And we can't submit the permit for this until the 537 is approved. I'm expecting the 537 to be approved sometime in 2026. So the intent is to do as much as we can up front. And after the 537 is approved, we turn around and submit what's called the Part 2. And that goes into DEP, and we're expected to start physically breaking ground sometime in 2027. That's the intent right now. And then we'll be done, hopefully by, my intent is to be operational before 2030. So there's a number of reasons why that is the schedule. One is DEP, two is DEP. So yes, so we have to start moving. And this, all the work will be done, of course, before September. In order to satisfy DEP's request to get the alignment nailed down. As I mentioned, before I get to the budget amendment, so then Arcadis will take all that work, they'll take the alignment, they'll wrap it up into a big report for us. Again, and that's going to be turned over to Chuck and his team when we're ready to do the RFP for the actual design. I alluded to the budget amendment. We do the budgets every, August, September, so we could not include this in the 2024 budget at that time. We weren't ready yet. Now we are ready. And again, we're proposing to use the what's called the Little Lehigh Relief Phase 1 Fund, which is the Park Pump Station Fund. And I have the blessing from all the municipal managers involved to move forward here. That all said, at the end of the day, I'm looking for a capital project authorization to Arcadis. I'm sorry, professional services authorization to Arcadis in the amount of $779,000 with a capital project authorization in the amount of $879,000. That work would start promptly, and then it's going to be done by September of this year. Any questions?
I have a couple questions. Just in general, just more out of curiosity than anything. So you have a rough alignment for this, right? And about how many feet/miles of pipe are we looking at?
Roughly 2.5.
2.5 miles?
Roughly.
Okay. And you're still deciding whether it's gonna be directional drilling or open cut, or it's?
No, so the intent is to do open cut all the way until you get towards the plant.
Okay.
And then once you get towards the plant, we'll probably just do trenchless.
And then as far as that goes, any challenges with easements or anything like that have to be negotiated early?
That's exactly why we want to start that process now. I don't want to speak for the city, I know they're on the call, but on the other side of the creek where the railroad bed is, that's majority city.
Okay, city-owned property?
City-owned, yeah.
Okay.
Not all, but that's going to be part of this whole package, is to identify all the easements that need to be acquired. Yes, but then that could take a long time,
And money?
in money,
Yes. Okay.
which we'll have to cross that bridge when we get there, but
I just didn't know if this was all kind of in the public or within the, close to the easement for the existing pipe or anything, but there's certainly some.
we really want to follow that railroad bed on the other side of the creek, as close as we can. And if we have to jump over on the other side, so this geotech is going to inform us of that.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Yes.
So you're looking really for two authorizations here. One is authorization to bring Arcadis on board for this project. And the other one is approval of the budgetary increase of $879,000 since it was not in the original project list.
That's fair, yes.
So where does that money come from, Ed?
That will be coming from the signatory group in Little Lehigh River 1. I think there's 9 of them.
Yes, so it's the breakdown is, roughly 85% LCA, roughly 5% South Whitehall, roughly 5% Salisbury is the breakdown. And again, they're all fully aware of this. And they all have their nuances that how they want it handled. That's all being worked out behind the scenes.
So we were expecting that we have to do this work sooner or later, but DEP requirement has made it that we have to do this year.
We've asked multiple times and they have not wavered. Thou shalt give me an alignment within 20 feet for this project. So we're taking them at face value.
As part of the Act 537?
Yes, prior to submission.
Okay.
So yes.
Phil, it's good information, the 85% for the 9 municipalities, and there's a total of 15 that'll have to share in the ultimate cost of this. But the sharing of those funds will be developed during the development of the new municipal agreements, correct?
Yeah, that's correct, yes. The details, of course, are not worked out, yes, but And we had a meeting last Thursday with the KISS group, and they're aware of this. They're aware of this, and, you know.
The
Yeah.
KISS group is the 9 people or the all 15?
All 15.
Okay, so,
All 15 are fully aware of this moving, you know, this authorization today.
okay. So there is that exposure of, they change their mind sometime during the contracts, agreements, renegotiations.
Yes, you're correct. However, you know, all the costs are gonna be tracked. And it's gonna be, you know, that's gonna be part of the negotiation.
Okay. All right, any questions on board? Okay, so we try and get this motion here, that there's a motion for capital project authorization, KISS Act 537, KISS Relief Interceptor for a budget amendment of $879,000, a capital project authorization for that amount that includes a professional service authorization to Arcadis based on their January 22, 2024 proposal. Okay. Anything else? Any questions? Any motion? Second.
So
Did I
move.
get that right, Ed?
Second,
All right, I heard a second. I did not get the motion made by whom?
Amir?
Amir? Okay, motion made in a second and seconded. Are there any questions? Okay, all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, ayes have it. Thank you very much, Phil. All right, the next item under wastewater is Arcadia Wastewater Treatment Plant Screening System Project, seeking approval. The green documents within our board package. Digital board package pages 62 to 65.
So Matt Dorner is the project manager on this one. He'll be doing a presentation on it.
Yep, and I'll introduce it, Ed,
Okay.
if you don't mind. So Capital Works, we have 2 projects for you today. This first one, this is a project to upgrade the Arcadia wastewater treatment plant. That plant is located in the New Smithville area in Weisenberg Township. And what it does is it treats the wastewater from roughly a dozen industrial and commercial businesses in the Arcadia West Industrial Park, including a restaurant, a gas station. There's a casket company. There's a plastics company. We replaced the original plant in 2012. The original plant was a small 12,000 gallon per day plant. We put in a 40,000 gallon per day sequencing batch reactor plant. The plant gets a lot of bulky waste, rags, stuff like that. It has a pump station. The pump station has a grinder, but the grinder, it doesn't remove the products from the waste stream, and the products tend to knit together downstream in the plant process and cause all kind of problems. So the purpose of this project is to install a mechanical screen to remove that debris from the influent wastewater, similar to what we did at Heidelberg Heights last year. So Matt's going to present the details about the project. At this point, I'll turn it over to Matt Dorner.
Thank you, Chuck. So as Chuck was saying, there is a grinder, but there's no screening system here, and that causes operational issues and maintenance issues at the plant. So in order to address those, last year we had Dewey Engineering do a screening investigation there, look at various options to improve this problem that we're having. So they looked at various manufacturers of screening systems and various locations within the plant to install these. They did also some visits to some other nearby wastewater treatment plants that have some of these similar technologies. And one of them was Valley Brook wastewater treatment plant in Chester, PA. And so that was one of the things that Dewey and our operational staff thought worked very well, the way they had that set up there. So based on that, this design will include the installation of 2 screening units upstream of each of the SBRs, construction of above-grade platforms and enclosures to support the screening systems and protect it from the weather, and all of the associated piping, electrical, and controls for these new screening systems. So the authorization we're requesting here with Dewey Engineering would be providing design and bid phases that include the following. Obviously, detailed design services, structural, mechanical, electrical, permitting services with PADP. They would do a pre-application meeting and the application as well and address the comments that we receive. They'll coordinate and attend progress meetings with us throughout the process and provide bid phase services, including pre-bid meeting, issuing addenda, and responding to bidders' RFIs and questions throughout the process. The cost for this is, for design, permitting, and bidding phase services, is $48,800 from Dewey Engineering, and that's our request today.
Just to clarify, you heard Matt say 2 screening units. The reason it's 2 is there's 2, the plan consists of 2 sequencing batch reactor tanks in parallel with each other. And the influent pump station, it conveys the wastewater via a force main with a header pipe that splits to each one of these SBRs. We looked at different kinds of screening arrangement, and the most constructible and the most cost-effective would be a small screen dedicated for each SBR right at the influent end of each SBR. Part of the problem is the influent wet well is 20 foot deep. It's very deep, and the site is kind of tight, and to put a screen on the gravity line into the wet well 20 feet deep or more would be very expensive to construct because it's a wet site to begin with. It's a low-lying area. So it was not cost-effective to put a screen on the gravity line prior to the wet well. And there were other permutations that were looked at, but as Matt said, the plant staff visited a plant in Chester County. They have a similar arrangement on their SBRs, and they really like that. So we get away with smaller screens, although we'll have 2. The existing tanks are elevated, they're above the ground, and that's why Matt mentioned an elevated platform and enclosure for these screens, because this plant is not at grade. So just to provide a little background.
Okay. Thank you, Chuck and Matt. Any questions of the board? Okay, so we have before us a capital project authorization for the design phase of Arcadia Wastewater Treatment Plant Mechanical Screening System project for a total amount of $66,300. And that includes a professional service authorization design phase for engineering services by Dewey Engineering for $48,800. Need a motion and a second to that nature.
So
Mr. Chairman,
moved.
this is, okay, I'll second, Mr. Chairman. Mark Ramos.
All right, caught the second, didn't catch the first.
Norma.
Or Norma, either one.
Norma, all right, we'll go with Norma. Thank you very much. All right, are there any questions? All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Next on the agenda, item number, let's see, Klein's Island Wastewater Treatment Plant, secondary digester cleaning, seeking approval, blue documents within our board package, digital board package pages 66 to 71.
Okay, and Amy Rohrbach's going to present this one. This is a least required project, basically cleaning a digester tank. So She'll fill you in on all the glamorous details of that project.
Thanks, Chuck.
Don't dive too deep.
As Chuck mentioned, per the lease agreement, we're required on a 5-year cycle to clean the digesters, and the secondary digester is due for cleaning. Much like we just did the primary digester number 2 recently, we will be also, on top of the cleaning, we will be replacing the sludge sample lines and making concrete repairs to the overflow box. So the scope of work includes those 3 items. LCA staff will be hauling in our trucks the dewatered sludge to the appropriate landfill, in this case. So the work involves emptying, dewatering, and cleaning the secondary digester. So dewatering it and disposing of the sludge into our trailers. Replacing the digested sludge sample lines, there's 4 of them, and then repair to the secondary digester overflow box. We received 4 bids. The low bidder was Romesburg Trucking, doing business as Mobile Solid Solutions. And Mobile Solid Solutions was the awarded contractor on the prior digester cleaning project. And we had good work with them. We saw no reason why we shouldn't award this to them. The bid fell in line with our engineer's estimate of approximately $280,000, with Mobile Solid Solution coming in at $265,000. So our recommendation is to award to Mobile Solid Solution at $265,000. And then also before you today is the Construction Administration Services with GHD at their cost of $17,900. That will include some on-site meetings, as well as some review of shop drawings, responding to any RFIs, construction inspection of the overflow box repair, as well as while they're on site for meetings, they will check the piping work for the sample lines, and then a substantial completion inspection and any contract closeout administration. So the total capital project authorization is $292,900. Any questions?
Part of the cost includes, the contractor brings in a portable dewatering, a belt filter press, portable press. So, you know, part of the cost, you're probably looking at the cost and thinking that sounds expensive. I mean, it's expensive to bring all that stuff in and set it up. So there's a lot of mobilization involved.
And they will be subbing out the piping and overflow box repairs to the same contractor who actually completed the primary digester number 2. And we had good workmanship out of him, Zimmerman Environmental. So we have no concerns with their sub.
Okay, any questions by the board?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Mark.
as I'm looking at the bidding summary, it says Syangro Central. Should that be Synagro? Synagro?
Yes, sorry. Thank you for catching my typo. It's Synagro, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other comments, questions? Okay, we have before us then a capital project authorization for the construction phase for the wastewater treatment plant secondary digester cleaning for a total amount of $292,900. That includes a professional services authorization to GHD Incorporated for $17,900 and a general contract award to Romesburg Trucking Incorporated doing business as Mobile Solids Solutions for $265,000. Do I hear a motion and a second?
Sean.
Motion by Sean.
Second.
Second by Mark. How's that? All right, motion made and seconded. Are there any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda, monthly project updates. Oh, thank you for the presentation. All right. Monthly project updates.
So I'll just touch base on some of the things coming up for our second meeting, which will be on the 26th. Actually, I'm looking at the list. It looks like it's going to be a pretty action-packed for the 26th. So for finance and administration, I believe we'll have election of officers for that meeting. We'll take a look at the December 2023 preliminary results as we are just completing all that stuff up now to get audited. We will also do on the 26th for finance and administration, we will do the monthly operating report, which is our normal report. Then we get into some of the water projects that are in line for the 26th, water main replacement, cycles 9 to 11. We'll also, excuse me, talk about lead service line replacement, cycle 2. Then we'll head on to wastewater, where we'll do some more review of financial institutional evaluations on the 26th. And then I see one more, or two more. Sanitary sewer collection system, I&I, and then Klein's Island Master Plan. So quite a few things coming up for the 26th.
Right, thanks, Ed. To that, the first item that you had mentioned, the election of officers at the next board meeting. In the past, I've asked Norma to poll each of the board members to seek their ideas as to who should be the chairman, vice chairman, treasurer, secretary, and also your interest in retaining your positions if you have one right now. I encourage everybody to consider taking on any of those positions, any including my own. If you're ready for it, go for it. Norma, would you please poll everybody and do what you've done in the past?
I'll be happy to do that.
And to make a presentation on the nominations at the next board meeting. All right. Thank you very much. Staff comments?
None?
Solicitor comments?
No comments, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
You're welcome. Public comments on any items whatsoever?
No, thanks, Brian.
Yep, no thanks, Brian.
All right, thank you, Jenny and Brian. Appreciate you being here. Board member comments. All right, no executive session, so this meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much, everybody, for attending and getting through the business of our organization. Have a good day.
Thank you.
See you, Brian.